good, y'all? It's your boy Ross back at again with another video. So we're gonna check out top 15 worst wrestling championships. Now, we've seen some beautiful looking championships over the years, and then we've seen some not beautiful ones. Some that you're like, who really thought this design was going to look good in a practical sense? So we're going to check out some of the ones that didn't look that good and kind of had fans or people questioning who actually designed this, why did they design it this way, and can we get rid of it? So we're going to check this out by Tap Out Corner. Appreciate all love, support. Let's get right into this video, man.
Championships that look like works of art, and today we aren't looking at a single one. This is the top 15 worst and ugliest championship belts of all time. Number 15, the AWA World Light Heavyweight Championship. Okay, look at this thing. It looks like a freaking popsicle. I do give the AWA points for trying something different with the red, white, and blue, but it did not work out. Also, I know that AWA stands for the American Wrestling Association, but the title is specifically the World Light Heavyweight Championship. Why would you make a world title look like a US flag? Or for that matter, why does the American Wrestling Association have a world title? Number 14, the WWF Heavyweight Championship.
Now, here's the thing. I know the title looks back in the day. Obviously, they weren't as grandiose as they are now. Now, there's a lot of diamonds, a lot of colors, a lot of sparkle to them. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, for me, it doesn't look that great. It doesn't look that appealing. But championships back then, you know, they had a different style. They had a different look to them. They weren't all about the glamour and the glitz. It was more so the statement of the belt and, you know, the company or the promotion that it was associated with. That's really what it was. So you know, I don't know if I would have put this on the list, but from newer fans that are looking at the belts that we see today, I can understand people being like, yeah, that was hideous.
In the late 70s and early 80s, the WWF champion had to lug this thing around. Now, as a concept, this is an awesome title. The side plates show everyone who had won the championship and the dates of their title reigns. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
The execution, though, is a different story. The belt is just too big, and the stacked up side plates aren't a good look. Again, having the dates on there is cool too, but it's just hard to fit all that information onto a belt. Plus,
and the crazy thing is, people were holding the belts for a very long time. So, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, people weren't dropping the belts as often like that. So
this design has a short shelf life because once you get past 8 champions, you can't fit anyone else on there. This is still a cool idea, and if you include just the names, I think this is a concept someone should bring back. I, however, cannot say the same thing about number 13, the Crown Jewel Championship. In
wow.
2024, WWE announced that the two respective men's and women's world champions would face off at the annual Crown Jewel event. However, their titles would not be on the line. Instead, the winner of each match would be gifted the Crown Jewel Championship.
Damn.
Okay, where do I begin? Well, for one, I'm not a fan of this taller shape that some belts have. It just looks odd to me, and it leaves a lot of empty space on the plates. But by far, the worst part of the Crown Jewel Championship is just how generic it looks. It's devoid of personality, and looks like it could be just about any championship for any company. Why not add in some purple, like the color of the Crown Jewel event? Especially since this is a title that is only going to appear once a year, why not give it some personality? I'll take the Greatest Royal Rumble Championship over the Crown Jewel Championship any day.
Here's the thing. The Greatest Royal Rumble Championship didn't look that bad, even though no one really cared about the Greatest Royal Rumble. But the reason why this one stands out, I can understand people not being a big fan of how the center plate is, but at the same time, this belt is not worth as much as this one. This is real diamonds and jewels that they had encrusted on the belt, so they're worth a lot of money. So this one does give the vibe of this one has more regalness, like this is something very expensive on your shoulder or waist. So I mean, I did see some people that thought this belt was hideous, and I did see some people like, god damn, this shit is iced out. It's huge as hell though, so that's up to your interpretation or your opinion.
Number 12, the AEW Women's World Championship. Specifically, I'm talking about the very...
Yes, this one, I did not like this. The original one they had when the company started, it just looked like a goddamn toy. I'm like, what the hell is this? It looked like a toy to me. In comparison to the men's AEW championship, their original championship looked like a damn toy.
First design that was introduced in 2019. Like with the Crown Jewel Championship, I don't like the oval shape of the center plate, but my real problem with this belt is that it's just too small.
Yes.
It's the size of a toy replica and
Yes.
not an actual championship. Someone at AEW must have thought the same, because in 2021, the belt was updated to be slightly bigger, which made all the difference. That's an example of a good championship redesign.
Yeah.
To see the opposite of that, we head over to WWE with number 11, the WWE United States Championship. Now, I'm not talking about the design used from 2003 to 2020. That belt looked great. I'm talking about the
new one.
design. It's not inherently awful, but it just sucks the life out of the original title. The current United States Championship looks like a basic black strap and gold-plated championship belt. Give me a little more red, white, and blue. It's the United States title after all. Make it.
I mean, it's kind of grown on me. I wasn't initially the fan of it when they introduced it. I kind of like the old design. It's grown on me, but I can understand why some people would not be a fan of it, because I do like the previous the design that they had.
Scream America. Actually, while we're at it, I'm going to throw the WCW United States title in there too, for the same reason. It looks like just a generic wrestling title. I honestly prefer the Women's United States Championship. It's basically the same, but
the white strap works with it. I
white
get it.
strap looks better, and at least 1/3 of the US flag is prominently featured. Number 10, the ECW World Tag Team Championship and the ECW World Television Championship. Yes, I'm doing 2 for 1, but that's only because both these titles have the exact same problem. Now, the original ECW Tag Team titles weren't great, but they weren't awful either. However, in 1997, the company redesigned the belts, or more accurately, stole WWE's Intercontinental Championship design and slapped an ECW logo on it.
Yeah,
That's
you're
literally
right.
what it was. And what makes it even sadder is that they did it again.
Yeah,
Slapped
you.
the ECW logo.
That
Redesigned the belt. Accurately, stole WWE's
That's literally what it was.
Championship design and slapped an ECW logo on it. That's literally what it was. And what makes it even sadder is that they did it again. ECW also redesigned the World Television Championship.
Yep.
It was just a ripoff of the Winged Eagle WWE Championship.
Yep.
I can understand using the Intercontinental belt for the tag team titles, but why use the Winged Eagle for the World Television Championship? Did the original ECW even air in the United Kingdom? What makes the ripoff titles even worse is that this was ECW, the rebellious anti-establishment organization. Still, here they are, shamelessly copying popular designs from the big guys. Fortunately, someone realized these belts were bad, and much, much better tag team television belts were made.
Yeah.
Number 9, the Impact Global Championship. In 2017, TNA merged with Jeff Jarrett's wrestling company, Global Force Wrestling, or GFW. This would see the organization formerly known as TNA now be called GFW Impact Wrestling. New championship belts were made, the ropes were changed to green, and more. However, the two sides had a falling out, and this resulted in GFW leaving and TNA revert back to being called just Impact Wrestling. I guess TNA got rid of their original world championship because even though they were no longer affiliated with GFW, they kept using the GFW world title. All they did was slap an Impact Wrestling sticker over it. But that wasn't the most embarrassing part. TNA ran out of stickers and couldn't cover up the GFW logos on the side plates.
Wow.
In a way though, this makes this championship the most TNA of all the TNA titles. The Rated R WWE Championship. Now, I know that the spinner belt is widely considered a bad championship. However, can we at least give a little bit of hate to what Edge did to it? After defeating John Cena and winning his second WWE Championship, the Rated R superstar threw Cena's belt into the water and then presented his own. It was the exact same belt.
Just
But
with
now
the Rated R.
Edge's logo in the center. It just looked so out of place on that belt and didn't match the design at all. What makes it even sadder is that Edge had drawn up a custom belt that actually looked pretty sweet. I'm guessing that since replicas of the spinner belt sold so well, WWE didn't want to stray too far from that design.
That's really what it was. I didn't have a problem with him putting the Rated R on there. That let me know that they were really, going with him as this top heel, even though, he didn't really have the championship long. He was kind of tossing it back and forth between John Cena. But they were really pushing him as a top main eventer, top heel. So I get it, because the spinner belt, even though some people didn't like it, it fit the time period and people were rocking with it. It was selling a lot. So I get why. I didn't have a personal problem with it, but I can understand some people didn't care for it.
Fine. However, that gave us about a month of this ugly looking thing. Number 7, the UWF Sports Channel Television Championship. The Universal Wrestling Federation, or UWF, was a company that ran from 1990 to 1996. What it tends to be remembered for nowadays is its insane owner, Herb Abrams. I'm not going to go into all that, but looking at the company's TV title, you'll get an idea of how petty Mr. Abrams was. Sports Channel was the network that aired UWF episodes, so, like what AEW would do decades later, the company made a title named after the network. I always appreciate a non-black strap belt, but the silver plates on the white don't work. There are also just too many colors, with the UWF logo being green, yellow, and blue, and the Sports Channel logo being red. Also, just like with ECW, why are there eagles on a television championship? Additionally, while the UWF letters on the sides are a neat idea, I don't think they work with a TV title. They seem like they would have been better for the company's World Heavyweight Championship. But the real reason the initials are here is for one, petty jab. You see, Herb Abrams wanted to work with Vince McMahon and the WWE. When that didn't happen, Abrams launched the UWF to compete against them. Then, to really stick it to him, Herb designed the television title so that when he held it, the belt said F you, which is entirely directed at Vince McMahon. To his credit, Herb Abrams was the Attitude Era before the Attitude Era.
Wow.
Number 6, the CMLL Arena Coliseo Tag Team Championship. CMLL is the largest wrestling company in Mexico and is actually the oldest wrestling company still in existence, with its origins dating back to 1933.
Damn.
Despite having close to 100 years of experience, they're still struggling to design good championship belts. Case in point, the
What the hell?
Coliseo Tag Team titles.
Oh!
Like the previously mentioned WWF World Heavyweight title, the Arena Coliseo titles try to incorporate history by having the faces of luchadors emblazoned on the belt. It's a cool idea, but since you're not usually seeing the belts from that close up, it ends up giving the titles this odd cheese-like texture. Probably doesn't help either that the color is yellow and has a Number 5, the 20.
I understand the history and the heritage of it. It for me, that it definitely does not look good.
Championship. I don't mind the 24/7 title as a concept, but even I'll admit, this was an ugly looking
Ugly.
plain and basic design. I get it's not meant to be a prestigious championship, but couldn't they have given it a bit more detail? For crying out loud, the side plates are just empty squares. With a logo on there or something? No wonder Nikki Cross failed to throw the title away.
Yeah.
And the trash can did Number 4, the Fabulous Moolah Women's Championship. Time has revealed all the awful stuff Fabulous Moolah has done. I'm not going to go into all of it, partially because some of it's pretty disgusting, but something that did come to light years later was Moolah's stranglehold on women's wrestling in the United States. Moolah used her influence to basically control women's wrestling throughout the mid-1900s. This resulted in her being WWE Women's Champion for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
That's not a typo either. From 1956 to 1984, WWE recognizes the Fabulous Moolah as their women's champion. And nothing visualizes this better than what Moolah did to the WWE Women's title. During her nearly 3-decade-long title
That's
reign,
crazy, bro.
This is the belt Moolah used. It doesn't even say women's champion or anything.
Wow.
It's literally just a picture of Moolah with a crown above her. Imagine if Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins picture themselves on their titles.
That's
I know
crazy.
people say the Divas Championship is one of the worst women's championship belt designs, but Fabulous Moolah's title makes it look like a work of art.
I ain't gonna lie to you, that is so ego driven. Like, it's basically saying nobody's winning this. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna just put my face on it. I've had the title for almost 30 fucking years. And y'all talk about Roman Reigns' title reign being a little bit too long. 30 fucking years almost is ridiculous, bro.
However, as hard to believe as it might be, there is one women's championship that looks even worse than this. I'll share that later. For now, let's look at number 3, the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship. In 2001, WCW had so many cruiserweight wrestlers, they decided to expand the division and introduce tag team titles. Now, the idea behind the championship isn't bad, with the belt looking sort of like an eagle. but man, the execution was awful. There's too much empty space on the black strap, and it kind of looks like an arts and crafts project. It also just seems a little too bland, especially with the Cruiserweight division being focused on high-risk moves and excitement. The belts honestly look unfinished. I would be surprised if they were.
They definitely look kind of weird.
Cruiserweight tag team champions were crowned, WCW would go out of business. It's not surprising then that when WWE bought WCW and did the Invasion storyline, they did not bring over these titles.
Of course.
Number 2, the WWWF World Heavyweight Championship. I know that back in the 60s, wrestling championships and wrestling in general was different than what it is today.
Yeah.
However, the original WWWF World title is so bad. Here's what the WWE Championship looks like today, and here's what the original looked like.
That's what it was.
Honestly looks like an actual belt you would use to hold up your pants. But there's so much more wrong with this title. The side plates look like two people kissing. And despite being the World Championship for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the center plate is shaped like the US. Are wrestling companies just really bad at geography?
And once again, I know for the historians of wrestling, for them, they probably, look at it obviously differently. The people that grew up watching wrestling, like, our grandparents and stuff like that, they may look at that differently and have a higher regard and view it as something beautiful and eccentric. But for the newer fans, of course, we look at that and we understand the lineage and why it was. That was just what the style of belts were, like championship belts were. They weren't as grandiose as they are now. Like I've said earlier in the video, it still isn't eye appealing. I just will say that, but you understand, you respect the history of it more than you like look at it for the beauty factor. Because back then it wasn't about the glamour side of wrestling. It was, a lot of people didn't even know it was all a work. You feel me? So for them, anyone that had that, it was, something to behold. I mean, I wonder what it would have looked like. I wonder what people's faces would have looked like, if they would have seen what the WWE Championship now back then. If you was able to go into a time machine and take it back to that era, I'm sure people would probably look at you crazy like you were, on some type of drugs or something like that. They probably would have deemed it ugly. So,
okay, we've made it to number 1. Brace yourselves, because the number 1 worst wrestling championship is the WWE Spinner Belt. Nah, I'm kidding. The actual
I was about to say
belt is number 1, the Pure J Openweight Championship. Okay, so people always say the Divas Championship is awful. It's the ugliest belt of all time. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I am saying they have clearly never seen the Pure J Openweight Championship. Pure J is a Japanese women's wrestling company. They have several titles, and they all look fine, except for the Openweight Championship.
What is
Here
that?
It is. It looks like something a car dealership would give to their sales team.
Okay.
Oh, basic font.
Oh my God.
See-through plastic strap. That just makes it seem cheap. What's worse, seeing something bad or hearing something bad? If you want to hear
my God, that shit did look cheap as hell. What the hell? That, at least with the Divas title, it had some bling to it. It had some sparkle to it. Let me pull this up again. That shit looked like hot ass. That shit looked awful, bro. No. It looked cheap. Plastic and cheap. Your championship's supposed to have that regal design, whether it's the gold and the silver and the diamonds. This shit looks awful. May have awesome lineage, but that shit look bad. That shit looks bad. But maybe overseas, it doesn't matter to them. So I get that. It's a perspective. But that, to me, that shit looked like a bucket of ass. Hey, but comment down below. Let me know, man. What's the worst looking championship you can think of if it wasn't already on this list? There's no wrong answers. This is your opinion. So comment down below. Let me know. But I appreciate all love, support. Road to 150K. Appreciate y'all kicking it with me. See y'all next one. Peace.